Lion King is simply one of the greatest movies ever made. It's also my all-time favorite Disney movie. The biggest reason why I love it so much is because I saw it at a young age, so it's very nostalgic to me. I probably watched this film more times than any other movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't do this film justice. It's just something that you have to see. I've seen this film so many times that it's practically in the back of my head. I know every single moment from start to finish. That being said, let's talk about The Lion King, released in 1994. It follows the story of a young prince named Simba who is destined to take the throne someday. His father Mufasa is voiced by James Earl Jones. He is by far the wisest mentor you'll ever see in a film. His performance is so good that it's almost like you're listening to James's actual words of wisdom that you're hearing that's translating on screen in a Disney film. He teaches Simba about the circle of life and everything that goes on in Pride Rock. He has a very jealous brother named Scar, voiced by Jeremy Irons. He is by far the greatest Disney villain of all time. He is the villain that everybody would love to hate. He is such a dick that you just want to see him get his comeuppance. He's extremely jealous about Simba being born, thus not making him the future king. He comes up with a plan with the hyenas to murder both Mufasa and Simba. This leads to what I think is the saddest thing I've ever seen in a Disney film.
Long live the king.
When I first saw this scene as a child, I was never the same after it. It fucking brought me to tears. First time I saw it, it was the first time I ever experienced what death looks like, for lack of a better term. To make things more disgusting, Scar blames the whole incident on Simba and exiles him from the Pride Lands. This is where Simba lives the majority of his life with a comedic duo named Timon and Pumbaa. These two are really funny. Timon is voiced by Nathan Lane and Pumbaa is voiced by Ernie Sabella. These two are so funny that they ended up having their own film together, which we will talk about another time. Timon and Pumbaa help Simba get over his grief, but he reunites with his childhood friend Nala, who doesn't understand why he left the Pride Lands. She tries to convince him to come back, but he refuses because the guilt is overwhelming him. After finding inner peace within himself, he goes back to the Pride Lands to challenge Scar and successfully overthrow him to become the new king. In some ways, this film owes itself to Bambi. Both films are coming-of-age stories, and both characters lose a parent and are forced to grow up the rest of their lives without them. And in a way, Timon and Pumbaa are like the Thumper and Flower of this movie. Any way you look at it, it's a timeless classic, with a great cast. Adult Simba is voiced by Matthew Broderick. He actually does a really good job. A lot of people know him for his role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Nala is voiced by Moira Kelly. She's also pretty good, and her relationship with Simba is the heart of the film. You also have Zazu, Mufasa's major domo, voiced by Rowan Atkinson. Yes, that's right, Mr. Bean himself. Finally, I want to mention Shenzi, voiced by Whoopi Goldberg. Her, along with Banzai, played by Cheech Marin, and Ed, voiced by Jim Cummings, are a great trio. These three are hot-headed, shit-talking hyenas who just want to make Simba's life as miserable as possible. It's what they do for fun. Bottom line is, it's a great movie. Every musical from top to bottom is memorable. My personal favorite is Hakuna Matata. Even though it was a phrase that existed long before the film was even made, the movie helped popularize the phrase. So when you usually say Hakuna Matata, people will know what you are talking about. Scar is such a great villain. You just hate the guy.
I'm 10 times the king Mufasa was.
Man, what an asshole. It's the highest grossing film of 1994, and it used to be the highest grossing animated film of all time. It's also the highest grossing traditionally animated film of all time, and the best selling film on home video, selling over 30 million VHS tapes. It won 2 Academy Awards in music and a Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture. Some people even consider this film to be the best of the Disney Renaissance era. Whether or not you agree or disagree is a matter of opinion. What can I say about the sequel, The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride? Part of the Disney direct-to-video sequels, this movie revolves around Simba's daughter, Kiara. She's an incredibly naive yet friendly being who meets an outlander named Kovu who looks almost exactly like Scar, which her father disapproves of. A lioness named Zira is out for revenge against Simba because she blames him for the death of Scar, even though the hyenas killed him in the first movie. But you see, she doesn't know that, so she's just blaming him. Well anyways, Zira trains Kovu to kill Simba by getting close to Kiara to gain Simba's trust. However, things take a turn when Kovu starts spending a lot of time with Kiara and learns the true story about Scar from Simba. Due to the positive influence, Kovu turns on his pride in favor of Simba, but Simba believes that Kovu was still out to get him and prevents Kiara from ever seeing him ever again and exiles him from the Pride Lands. Kiara and Kovu reunite and return to the Pride Lands where the Outlanders are trying to take over the Pride Lands. This leads to a final battle between Zira and Kiara where Zira ends up dying in a river. This movie feels a lot like the first movie. Not that Disney was already known for doing that, but I'm just saying. The part in the beginning of the film where Kiara disobeys Simba is exactly like how Simba disobeys Mufasa in the first movie. That said, I thought it was still a good film. It's most certainly not as good as the first movie, but it's a tough act to follow. I mean, no matter how hard you try, you can never come close to how legendary and magical the original film was. Though I will admit that out of all the Disney direct-to-video sequels, this one might be the best one. The musical numbers are not as memorable as the first film, but it's still good enough. My favorite musical number was We Are One. Only the hardcore fans will really appreciate this movie for trying to expand the universe of The Lion King. Lion King 1.5 is one of the funniest Disney movies ever made. Some people don't appreciate it because of the comedy, but that's the whole point. It's not meant to take itself seriously as much as the first film. It's a parody. You sit down and you enjoy it. This film is a prequel / parallel to the first movie, and we see things from Timon and Pumbaa's perspective. It's similar to Back to the Future Part 2, where it goes back to the events of the first movie and witnesses everything from different perspectives. The only difference is that it doesn't have that time traveling bullshit. We see that Timon is an outcast in his own family, which is very depressing, but then as soon as he meets Pumbaa, we also see that Pumbaa is a loner. That's what this film is about. It's about outcasts. All Timon wanted to do was to not only be appreciated and loved by his family, but also wanted supreme happiness by finding the Promised Land, a land filled with happiness. Pumbaa, on the other hand, just wanted a friend and a home to live in. We also meet some members of Timon's family, such as Ma, played by Julie Kavner, who is best known for the voice of Marge Simpson from The Simpsons. The one who very nearly stole the show was Uncle Max, played by Jerry Stiller. He's portrayed as the paranoid uncle to Timon, but also acts like a father figure to him. He's extremely entertaining to watch. Every scene he's in, you just want to laugh. The movie is filled with a ton of parodies. For example, during the Can You Feel the Love Tonight sequence from the first movie, Pumbaa and Timon are trying to screw up Simba and Nala's relationship to the theme of Peter Gunn. Yeah, I'm not joking. The Peter Gunn theme is in a Disney movie. That is fucking awesome. Timon and Pumbaa also parody Lady and the Tramp, which was an earlier Disney film. There's nothing more entertaining than watching Disney parody itself. While Timon and Pumbaa's friendship has its ups, it also has its downs. There's a scene in the film where Timon is extremely hurt by the fact that Simba went back to Pride Rock to challenge Scar and just shrugs it off. Pumbaa even abandons him because he thinks that Timon is acting extremely selfish. He's a little bit like that in this movie, but it's mostly because he's struggling to find the Promised Land that he's been searching for. The first half of the film is literally him trying to find the Promised Land he seeks for, and by the end of the film, we see what happened between them and the hyenas while Simba was fighting Scar. It's also great that they brought back Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella as Timon and Pumbaa. I know it's very late that I mentioned that, but, you know, as I said before, some people may find that this movie is just cheesy, but many hardcore Disney fans like myself consider it one of the funniest animated films ever made. It's able to blend comedy and drama all at once. So, be sure to look out for my other reviews, and this is your friendly neighborhood Reptile, signing off.